You've probably heard about the letters to the Corinthians, right? But what do we actually know about the city itself, the place that sparked these famous writings? Well, today we're going to dive deep and unpack the world of ancient Corinth. It was a place of wild ambition and seriously clashing ideas, and we're going to see just how its unique culture forged one of history's most dramatic and personal conversations. This is really what it all boils down to. And it's not just some thought experiment. This is exactly what played out in real time on the chaotic streets of Corinth. It set the stage for a massive confrontation of ideas that would, believe it or not, help shape the future of a world religion. The stakes, they couldn't have been higher. All right, so let's zoom in on the setting. Picture this. The Corinth that the Apostle Paul walked into wasn't some quaint Greek town. No, it was a thoroughly Roman city, basically rebuilt from scratch, and it was running on a very specific Roman operating system. And that system was all about three core values. First up, and this was everything, was status. In Roman Corinth, who you were, who your family was, your social standing, that dictated your entire life. It was literally the air they breathed. And that status? Well, that was your direct ticket to the second big value power. Your rank on the social ladder determined your influence, your legal rights, even your ability to get simple things done. If you didn't have status, you were basically invisible. And finally, fueling all of this was a fierce, almost cutthroat individualism. Roman culture was all about personal ambition, about competition, about getting ahead. It was a world that basically patted you on the back for climbing the social ladder, no matter who you had to step on to get to the top. Now, this competitive, me-first spirit didn't just stop with society. Oh no, it defined the entire religious landscape of Corinth. The city was this bustling marketplace of gods and spiritualities, where people basically went shopping for deities like they would for anything else. Scholar David Garland just nails it with this metaphor. He says to imagine walking into a cafeteria with a huge, long line of food. You don't just pick one thing, right? You grab a little of this, a little of that, whatever looks good. That's exactly what religion was like in Corinth. The logic was pretty simple. You'd pick a god that could help your business prosper. Then you'd add another one for your family's health. And hey, why not throw in a few more just to cover all your bases? The more gods you had on your team, the better your chances. This wasn't just okay, it was considered the smart way to live. So, into this world of religious shopping and social climbing, a totally radical new movement shows up: Christianity. And to the Romans, this new faith wasn't just another dish in the cafeteria. It was seen as a disruptive force that threatened their whole way of life. And you can really see the conflict when you put the two worldviews side by side. The Roman motto was basically, get along religiously, all gods are welcome, just don't make waves. But Christianity came in with these exclusive claims. The statement, Jesus is Lord, wasn't just a spiritual idea, it was a political statement. It was a direct challenge to the idea that Caesar was Lord, which was the absolute cornerstone of the imperial cult, the state religion that kept the empire together. This whole idea of one god was so alien, so countercultural, that the Romans had to come up with a name for these weird new people who refused to worship their gods. So what do you think they called them? Atheists. Yeah, you heard that right. In a world jam-packed with gods, if you refused to worship all of them, you were seen as not believing in any of them. Christians were seen as impious, disloyal, and were even called haters of humankind because they wouldn't join the civic festivals that everyone else believed kept the gods happy and the city safe. So, against this crazy backdrop of cultural collision, a really personal drama starts to unfold. It's between the Apostle Paul, who started the church in Corinth, and this community he was trying to lead. And let me tell you, their relationship was anything but simple. Now, the letters we have in the Bible, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, they aren't the whole story, not even close. It's more like we've walked into the middle of a long, messy, and dramatic text chain. It starts with Paul founding the church. Later, he sends a letter we don't even have anymore, the lost letter. Then things go south. A major crisis erupts. We don't know the details, but it was bad enough that Paul makes what he calls a painful visit, where he gets publicly humiliated. Hurt and angry, he fires off another letter, a severe one he called the tearful letter. It's only after hitting this rock bottom that his friend Titus comes back with good news. The church is sorry, and that healing is what leads to the deeply personal and emotional letter we now know as 2 Corinthians. And understanding this whole history, this messy roller coaster of conflict and reconciliation, that is the absolute key to understanding the letters themselves. They weren't written in a quiet study. They were forged in the fire of this really intense and difficult relationship. You can actually see this emotional journey right there in the language Paul uses. 1 Corinthians, written earlier in the mess, sounds rational, authoritative. The big words are know, judge, wisdom. Paul is laying down the law, making his case. But 2 Corinthians, written after they made up, it's completely different. It's emotional, it's pastoral. The key words flip to weakness, comfort, glory. This isn't just a different vocabulary, it's a change of heart. It shows a relationship that's been through the ringer and come out humbled and transformed on the other side. So the real takeaway here is this. The Corinthian letters are not these stuffy, abstract theological documents. They're urgent, they're raw, they're personal communications written right from the heart of a real human conflict shaped by all the pressures of a busy, competitive Roman city. And this whole story leaves us with a fascinating and totally timeless question. The Corinthians, they struggled with factions, with different opinions, with all these outside pressures. Their story really forces us to ask, for any group, how do you embrace the diversity that makes a community great without letting it tear you apart? It was the central challenge for ancient Corinth, and you know what? It's still a central challenge for all of us today.